Warlock is a brand new open-world action-adventure set in the realm of Dungeons & Dragons. Here to tell us about it, Dominic Guay from Invoke Studios. Welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Dude, your game looks sick.
Thank you.
It's always nice to get like a big reveal of gameplay like that.
Yeah.
And kind of really seeing a game in action and get a sense of like what you're doing. You had big, huge CG trailer last year. And it's nice to kind of let the cat out of the bag. A thing that jumped out at me right away is just how tactile this all looks. Which is kind of what you want from a D&D game. We're used to D&D being very turn-based, but also rewarding player creativity. Can you tell me a little bit about, I guess, some of the systems and mechanics that you're incorporating and how that really allows for imaginative play?
Yeah, the game's really centered around making creative use of magic, so that was kind of the center for us. We wanted the player to be able to experiment with spells in real time, spells that maybe some players have used turn-based before at the tabletop. So that's the whole purpose of the game, and the center of it, making use of these spells both to explore the open world, to solve mysteries, but also in combat, obviously, always in combination with the character's weapon master abilities.
Which was the hardest spell to, I guess, put into a real-time setting?
I wouldn't say one was worse than another. Every time we design a spell, one of the ways we challenge ourselves is to think of how they could be useful in multiple contexts. And we're also thinking of how players could combine these spells and use them smartly in the environment to almost break the game in a way, find their own solutions to problems. You saw how we burned that bramble and then we could gather some water, put it off. So underneath there's a lot of systems running and we just build spells on top and let the player loose with them.
No, I love that kind of sandbox. I get the sense that, is there like a dash of Metroidvania in there? Like if there's spells you don't know, is there stuff you couldn't go do?
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective. In a way, yes, but not in a binary way like a Metroidvania. So as you gain new powers, new spells, it lets you get your reach in the open world to be broader and broader, reach new places, find secrets. So definitely you want to grow in power to get to find all the secrets in our setting. It is a fully open world game, but we're thinking about it in an exploration driven way. We want the player to go out there and not just follow a waypoint, but really engage with the world. And like you see here, right, you're investigating a trace on the ground, and through that you'll organically unlock a side quest basically.
Cool, and there are dungeons. It's a Dungeons & Dragons game.
Yeah,
there's a dungeon right there. I can see it.
Right, yeah.
I guess in terms of how the world's structured, do you kind of just get spat out in the middle of it and you can go any direction? Is it really just fully like open from the jump?
It's fully open. So at the beginning of the game, you're thrown into this weird setting that's called Darkon. And it's a domain of dread on the brink. There's a lot of chaos going on in there. There's a power vacuum. And it's almost an apocalyptic setting. There's mists all around, normally preventing people from going in and out. And these mists are kind of going into the land and reshaping it. So the player needs to figure out what's going on in Darkon with the main character. And the world's fully open. So you got a map, there's fog of war, you'll need to go out there, you'll need to explore and reveal what's hidden inside of the world.
I like to hear this. So in D&D, picking a class is a big deal. You picked one. It's a Warlock.
Yeah.
What's for people who aren't as well-versed, what's the big deal about Warlocks and why does it make the most sense?
So a Warlock is a magic user that get their spells through a pact with a powerful patron. So in our case, Kaatri, our main character, made a pact with Tasha, a very dangerous witch queen that's really hard to read and has her own agenda. So you're getting in bed with someone that's probably gonna have to force a price on that power she's giving you.
We get a glimpse of sort of like a table where some kind of stuff is being performed. What's that?
Yeah, so some of our spells are called rituals, and they take a little bit more time to cast, and they require components that you find in the open world. But they also allow us to create spells that are even more powerful and lets you set things up. You'll see later on where we'll use one that basically calls rain, the downpour. And then you can use this in various ways to put out fires, but also in the way we use it here in the demo, we synergize with a spell called Witch Bolts. You all have those enemies now covered in water, you have puddles around, and so you can use that to have greater power with your Witch Bolt.
So we see a bit of, fire, water, a bit of electricity. Is there like ice, poison, that kind of stuff too in there?
Yeah, we got a lot of. We didn't go for ice, but there's a lot of systems, and even wind. Right, we got in this spell gust of wind. So we build this spell up because we have a wind system. So then you can affect. There's clouds, toxic clouds, then you can affect them with your spells. How can you use this? How can you defeat certain monsters with that? How can it help you reach new places? So even a spell like Gust of Wind allows those kinds of things.
You've also got plenty of just sword and board combat here too, yeah?
Yeah, so fundamentally, you'll use your spells to set up enemies, put yourself at an advantage to do critical attacks generally, but then you're going in with your weapons too. So at any time, you got 2 weapons equipped, you can find new ones, you can upgrade these weapons. So in the demo, you'll see we're using a warhammer and a sword. And really, the player gets in there too. And she used to be a weapon master before she got those spells, before she became a warlock. And you mix those 2 sides of her background.
Okay, so we got a ritual going on right here.
Exactly.
What's happening exactly?
Yeah, exactly. So she's pouring those ingredients that she either purchased or found in the environment, in the world, and now that downpour I mentioned before starts. And now we're going to be using witch bolts, and you're going to see how efficient it is. It wouldn't be quite as efficient as this if the enemies weren't covered in water, if there wasn't puddles around. You can see the electricity is zapping to some of the iron elements in the environment, so we're trying to have these elements really make sense for the player to make plans and play with.
The ritual, because it is that in place of a menu, basically? Was that like a deliberate choice to have something?
Yeah, that's a good point. So all of our spells are directly available in the controller at all times. So you don't have like a selection wheel when you want to do all of the other spells, except for ritual, where we can have an actual menu where you find new rituals. We can have a lot of them, and they're added to the options that you have when you start doing a ritual.
What does progression look like? Because we're seeing like little bits of, is that XP, rune, soul, something like that, flying off of dead enemies there?
Yeah, there's a couple of different axes on which you can become more powerful, but obviously this is based, in spirit on Dungeons and Dragons, so getting stronger is an important part of that. So a lot of our progression is going to be around magic, so you'll find a lot of spells. For that, you're going to have to explore the world. So they're out there, it's up to you to find them. We're going to give you tools to help you out, but you're going to have to be curious. You're going to have to explore the world. You can also upgrade and tailor all of the spells. So it's kind of like you have a skill tree per spell that you can find. You can have new gears, new kinds of equipments. You can upgrade those. You can level up. So there's a lot of axes in which you can become more powerful.
The way it's structured is, it's an action adventure, but you've got role-playing elements. You got to have that. Is there a way where people could basically craft different builds? Is it kind of lean into different things?
So you're always going to be a warlock, right? So of course we're not going to let you go out of that class, but we want you to be able to tailor your Kaatri to your preference. So first, obviously, cosmetic parts, so you can find various armor sets, and she can look vastly different based on what you decide to equip. But then, we want, the way we thought about our gear is more trait-based than just stats. So you can be making plans with those traits to synergize maybe with your go-to spells or the plans you have, or maybe you're like, oh, I'm facing these enemies which are maybe fire-based. I'm going to be using these equipments that give me resistance. So you can make plans that definitely build up your build of Kaatri.
Sweet. Now, what's Kaatri and Tasha's relationship like? How do they engage with each other?
There's tension there for sure. Like, Kaatri has her own quest. She's looking for someone she cares for, and that's all her mind is set on that. But obviously, Tasha has her own agenda. And Kaatri didn't completely understand the price she might be paying by getting in bed with her and accepting this pact that she made. And so there's definitely tension as you go through the game, as you go through the story. More and more of Tasha's agenda is going to get unveiled. And there's an interesting kind of arc to this for us to play with.
I like that. No, so Katri's an original character, right? Like brand new?
Yeah, absolutely.
But Tasha's been around for a cool minute.
She's for
like
a long time.
Gary Gygax creation.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, for sure. Like, she's legendary within the universe.
How much are you kind of pulling from existing lore versus kind of crafting your own version of her?
Oh, we're definitely pulling from the lore. I mean, some of it is deep cuts, but it's super inspiring for the team. So we're going to tap in her story, her background. She's lived multiple lives. She's been in different dimensions of Dungeons and Dragons, so she's seen a lot, and that's something we love because it gives us a lot of options for stories to tell.
Nice. What are we looking at in terms of side quests, or I guess bonus objectives?
Yeah, we call them mysteries. They're really, you can think about them as side quests. So a lot of them we try to ground them in the world, so they let you find more about the lore of the Archon, what's going there, what's happening there, how are people living, the problems they're dealing with. And Kaatri's there for our own quest, but we want to let the player decide what they're interested in. So we're not forcing side quests on you. You're going to find a bunch of them, and you decide which ones you want to pursue. And obviously, some you might do it for like just your own sake because you want to get potential treasure, or you hear about potential artifacts that you're interested in. If you're, as a player, you want to help people out, there's going to be those kinds of side quests too. The way the game is structured, it's really about players' choices to decide what they want to engage in.
Nice. Now we're circling back.
Yeah.
We're about to go back in the dungeon.
Yeah.
There's a beholder down there.
It's a death kiss.
Death kiss.
There's a nuance to it, but it's close.
Fake nerd here. But yeah, in terms of bestiary and monsters and stuff, how do you, what are you picking in there?
For us that was great, right?
Yeah.
And one of the reasons we chose that setting is basically it allowed us to pick from any of the monster types from the D&D monster books. So we went crazy. We had a lot of fun picking these monsters out. At the same time, Kaatri is not like godlike. Like there's a limit to the type of monsters she could deal with. We wanted to make an immersive single-player game, so we can't have you facing a horde of dragons. So we were smart in picking things that make sense for one character to deal with. But we had a lot of fun. So there's a lot of variety for you to discover and fight in there.
Do you consider that a boss fight or a mini boss or just a big enemy?
So yeah, that's just a big enemy in there. Like he's tough. So at this point in the game, if you look at the progression for Kaatri, she's somewhere mid-game. Like we would be able to deal with that character, but we actually had fun in avoiding the fight in this sequence because we also wanted to show that it was a valid strategy to not engage and to use your spells to get out if you wanted to. Again, that's players' choices.
Now, what's some creative magic use you've seen in combat that hasn't been showcased in this gameplay? Because I always love when people do like weird loopholes, like crate stacking, that kind of thing.
And that's the whole point of our magic system. So when we play test the game with players, sometimes we see them doing things that we even haven't thought about doing. And I don't want to. We're going to show a lot of these, and we're going to show some crazy stuff along the way. But like, for example, you saw that there's a levitate spell, and you can just put an enemy up and, kind of crowd control them. But then I saw recently as one of our testers, he took like a big rock up, and then when one of our enemy went underneath, he just canceled the spell and dropped it on his head. I was like, this is not going to work. But it actually worked pretty well. So these are the kind of things that player can think about and do if they want to try it out.
I love to hear it. Now, the last big D&D game, obviously Baldur's Gate 3, different kind of game. Most people, if they even finished it, it took them more than 100 hours.
Yeah.
How long of a playthrough are we looking at here?
It's a tough question to answer, I'll be honest with you. We're still, nailing down how we're balancing the game, and that's going to have a big impact. But it's a big game. Like, it's an open world game. We know these games always are longer to play through, but we don't want to have like one of these daunting multiple hundreds of hour game. This is not that type of game. We wanted to create a denser open world where things were closer by if you explored, but it's still like tens of hours, and you're going to have plenty to play through for sure.
Nice. And how close are we to release here?
Well, next year.
We
still have a bit of work ahead of us, but we're feeling good. So next year, this is going to ship for sure.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming by.
Thanks for having me.
Warlock is coming to consoles and PC sometime in 2027, but stick around because there's more Gamescom Studio 2026 right here on IGN.